Hey, what is up, everybody? Nice short intro for you there. This is, I think, the second one we've done with that one. But anyways, as always, welcome to Dharma Time. We together are Dope and Dharma. I am the Dharma Guy. He is the Dope Doctor, and together we are WPSN 99. Welcome. You are watching us, if you're watching us live here on Facebook.com/WPSN 99. We're a couple hours later than normal, and today might be an abridged show. We'll see. But as you can tell, he's on an escapade right now down in Miami.
Escapade? Escapade.
I don't know what you're doing. I just see a bed in the background.
Oh I know, right?
Thankfully, there's nobody in it, I guess.
Yeah, luckily there's nobody in it. Dana's down there finding food or whatever. We just arrived in Miami, man.
I'm very glad, though, that you put a shirt on for this. Like, I did not want you, like, laying on your side with the laptop in front of you with no shirt on, taco meat all hanging out, talking about, welcome, everybody.
Do you want proof that I have...
No, I'm good. I take your word for it.
Sure? I mean, because I can stand
Oh, God. No, I'm good. I don't... anyways, welcome, everybody. It's been...
I can show you the view, Trinity.
Well, I've seen Miami probably hundreds of times at this point.
I wish I could show you the view of this room. The room is really cool. Star Island is right below us, man.
Nice.
We're on the 17th floor.
Nice. Are you on what?
The bay.
Are you on South Beach or are you in Miami?
No, downtown Miami this
Biscayne
time.
Bay?
Yeah. So
Nice.
you can see South Beach.
Yep. You got the Airlines Arena right across the street.
Ships. Yeah.
Right on.
Pretty close.
Yeah, man. I love that city. So just to catch everybody up, right? Real quick, some housekeeping type stuff, I guess. You guys didn't see us on Dharma Time for a week, and also the Couch Live for a week, and a lot of that had to do with there was quite a bit of stuff taking place in my world lately. But it all started, I think it was last Friday. So last Friday, my daughter decided it would be a great idea to go out and total her car, or her mom's car. And yes, she's okay. Everything's fine. She was a little shaken up and scared mostly. And when I say totaled, it wasn't like it was such a horrific accident. It was mostly a fender bender. But the car was older. It was going to go to her anyways. We were in the process. We were going to buy a new one. And we just sped this process up a little bit. Essentially, it was one of those situations where to do the repairs, it really wasn't worth it. So in that sense, it was totaled. So that was why we didn't do the show on Friday, because I was in the process of dealing with all of that, because it literally happened like 20 minutes before we go on air. And then on Tuesday, we ended up buying my wife a new car, and I had to drive up to Gainesville to start the process of obtaining that one. We are the proud new owners of an EV. It's called an electric vehicle, the Nissan Leaf. It's an interesting car. It's a learning curve for sure. Some getting used to.
That's a whole story in itself.
It is, man. It is. But anyways, regardless, that's why you guys haven't seen me in a few weeks. It's not that we didn't have some stuff to talk about. We were live last night here locally on the radio station WOKB, and was it 1680 AM? And we had a good time last night, and we talked a little bit about the doping situation with the Olympics and sports and things of that nature, which spawned off today's conversation, right? So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Today's conversation is more of a philosophical / spiritual just dialogue, if you will, about the whole Simone Biles incident, right? The whole, I shouldn't say incident, the whole, whatever you want to call it, surrounding that,
Her
right?
decision.
So to give everybody some basic background, Simone Biles is an Olympic gymnast, a quite decorated one, quite successful. I think she's been in one other Olympics. She might have been in two, but I know she's been at least one. And she was decorated, won some medals. By all accounts, was top of her game, if you will. And then was fully expected to come out into this Olympic Games and just clean up and dominate. She had I think it was a floor routine, and in that floor routine, it didn't look good. Even if you're not. If you're not like in the know, if you will, about gymnastics and knowing how they score or whatnot, I think the untrained eye could look at it, could tell something was off and it just wasn't looking good. And then she came out shortly after that performance and said that she was withdrawing from the rest of that particular competition. She got a ton of flack for it. There was a lot of supporters as well, so I don't want to take away from the individuals.
Did she get flack?
She did. there was a lot of supporters, but there was a lot of people, the armchair quarterbacks, we like to call them, saying basically like, she's representing the country, she should have gone out there, she's going to lose sponsorships, and the whole idea of weakness came out to play, because it was mostly mental, right? In baseball, they have this thing called, in baseball and golf, they call it the yips. And the yips is essentially where you've been playing the sport your whole entire life, and then you run into a situation for whatever reason. Nobody's ever really come up with a actual reason for it. It's all just theory at this point. But essentially, you forget how to do it. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but you literally forget how to swing the bat and make contact. You forget how to swing the golf club. It's called the yips. Well, apparently in gymnastics, they have something this is very similar to that. They call it the twisties. And the twisties is essentially the yips in the sense of you can't perform. You know how to do it. You've been doing it for years, but for whatever reason, you were just not able to get it done. And so
you get lost.
Yeah, it's like a weird.
You get lost in your flips, or you lose sight of where you are. That sounds scary as hell.
Yeah, it's weird, man. And then I think it was last night, I believe, she actually ended up coming back and placed, I think it was bronze in the balance beam. So
Ooh, you're giving it away. That's like
I don't know.
tonight at prime time, 8 p.m.
Oh well, really is it? Because I've seen it all over the place. So either way,
because it already happened.
Yeah, Japan. Yeah,
but a lot of people are watching all the Olympics on prime time. So if you notice, NBC is not reporting it because
oh well.
That's their.
If you're watching this for your Olympic coverage, you got the wrong show there,
people.
But anyways, so she came back and did that, and I think she felt some pressure. She said she did it mostly for herself, but I would be remiss if I didn't think that she got some pressure from that. So to me, it brings up an interesting kind of debate, right? And that is, once again, we talked about it numerous times, especially on this show, and that is, if somebody breaks their arm or blows a motor or something, we typically refer to some sort of an expert, right? We go to a doctor, we go to a mechanic, something like that. But for whatever reason, when it comes to our brains, right, our mentality, our motivation, our inspiration, our thought process, sometimes even depression, there's this idea that you should just pull yourself up by those bootstraps and just get it done. We do it to ourselves. Oftentimes, if we're kind of in a funk, we feel like, I just do this and I can get out of it, or I just need to shake this off or whatever. And we do it to other people, and we say, hey, what's wrong with you? My coach used to ask me when I was in football, are you hurt or are you injured? If you're injured, you got to go in the locker room. But if you're hurt, suck it up and get out there and play. And so if you don't have if you're not bleeding, you don't have a broken bone, the idea is to suck it up and get out there and play or perform whatever it is. So we don't typically respond well when somebody says that they have some sort of mental health issue, if they're struggling with dealing with things. And I think that's compounded, if you will, for any of my football fans out there. I just remember a game, I don't know how many years ago it was now, it was a Monday night game, and it was Brett Favre back when he played for the Packers still, and it was the night his father died, and he went out there and played anyways. And it was like an amazing game. He had like 4 or 5 touchdowns, 400 yards. It was just like the perfect game for a quarterback, and he dedicated to his father and stuff. And so people look at that and they place it on this pedestal of like, that's how you're supposed to respond. And then if you don't respond that way, like if the same thing happened to somebody else and they want to take a couple weeks off, or if they want to mourn, if they want to grieve, or if they're just depressed or whatever, then somehow we look down on that at times, or we either look down or we're very neutral. To when somebody goes out there, it's all accolades and it's like this amazing thing. And by all means, hey man, if you're the type of person that just you deal better with it by going out there and staying busy and doing things, then more power to you. But I think we need to get to a place now where we respect the mental aspect of, hey, I need some time. And that doesn't mean I'm weak. That means I just need some time to wrap my head around it. Because at the end of the day, and it's taken me some years to get this mentality right anyways, and there's more important things, right? And that's a hard thing for people to understand, because at the end of the day, it's just a sport. I know it's a livelihood for a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it's just a sport. It's just a job. Your family, and because the other thing that happened with Simone was not only did she have the twisties, but and dealing with all the immense pressure and everything else, which we'll talk about, but apparently her aunt died as well. I don't know if it was like immediately before the Olympics or during. I just know it was relatively recent. She's still struggling with it because she actually came out and admitted that. But anyway, so what are your immediate thoughts? And we got a couple comments from both Marissa and Simon, which I'll get to in a second. But let me hear your immediate thoughts, man.
Well, my, I mean, quite a few actually. I'll start with
It's a
this.
big topic, man.
Yeah, huh?
It's a big topic.
Well, yeah, because I have mixed emotions about it, mixed thoughts about it as well. I mean, because part of it is when you look at these athletes, these are world class athletes, and when we first came on, I don't know if he's still watching, but I saw that Pinklin Thomas was on here.
Oh, right
Pinklin
on.
Thomas is a two-time world heavyweight champion.
Yep.
I'm sure he'll tell you that psychologically you're not always well, and as a professional boxer, I'm sure he was in situations where you're in danger when you're in there and you're not well and you're not doing right. You are in danger. You
Yeah.
can get really really hurt. And with her, it was kind of scary because she had been missing the landings and missing the landings. And then when we saw her do the vault, and she got lost in the air. And when they showed it in slow motion, the look of her being terrified as she spread her arms out before she landed it, and she missed
Right.
that landing. And that's when she walked off. After that vault is when she walked off, and it was like, whoa, that was pretty odd right there,
Right.
because she knew at that point in time, hey, look, these are very dangerous jumps. You could get really really hurt if your mind is not in the game, and clearly
Yeah.
she just wasn't in there.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to judge why she wasn't in the game or how she wasn't in the game, but this is why I say mixed thoughts on it. One thought is, man, I wish she would have caught it before she went. I really wish she would have caught it before she went, because what it does then, it opens up a spot for another person to fill that spot
Right.
and get that Olympic dream, right? So that's one thought. It's just a thought. I'm
Sure.
not blaming her for that. I'm just simply saying it's a thought. There's a spot there for somebody, right? The other thought is, man, this is it makes you put in perspective that even though we call that's what a champion can do. A champion can, the show must go on kind of
Right.
ideology, or they still perform even though bad stuff has happened.
Right.
That is what I look at champions to be like. So it even rocks my thought of what a true champion is, because we saw so many other champions lose that focus in a game. And again, we saw it happen to Mike Tyson. We saw it happen to Michael Jordan. We saw where they did play through it, but they weren't right. And you saw
Right.
it. We saw it happen with Dennis Rodman. You and I, we both love Dennis Rodman.
Sure.
Where psychologically, when they're not right, oh sorry,
Right.
it costs them some ability, and it costs them some things. So I don't know what to think about that part of it, Trinity, other
Right.
than we as regular normal people, I think, have always looked up to rock stars and athletes as the show must go on kind of people, and that they could just power through it psychologically and just make it happen. And then when we see them struggle with home life and family life, they actually don't. Tiger Woods is another
Yeah.
one that all of a sudden could not put it together.
Yeah.
He was no longer the Tiger Woods, except the difference between a Tiger Woods and Simone Biles is he did pull out of competitions, but I didn't see him just walk off. The only competition I ever saw him walk off is when his back was a
Yeah.
physical
Yeah.
strain.
And his knee too.
But one could say, well, was it? Or was he always in pain? But then when you're psychologically not well, you're just, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
So you just,
Maybe.
but it's the back. What I
Right.
mean? We don't know.
Yeah.
I would bet that there's a lot of professional athletes that actually walked off a field or didn't get off the bench or didn't get off the stool when it was more psychological than physical, because they're always in pain.
Yeah.
Physical pain they can handle. They're always in physical pain.
Yeah.
Professionals always deal through pain, all professional athletes. Psychological pain, I would bet a lot of them stayed on their stool or stayed on the bench or didn't come back out and then just use the physical pain as a cover. So maybe that's her bravery. The bravery is saying, no, it's not physical. I'm not going to
Right.
fake an injury. I'm not going to lie to everybody. You know what? This is life. This is me. There's more to me than that. But that was dangerous. If I keep doing that, it's very dangerous, and I just can't take that risk.
Yeah, well, we got quite a few good comments, but before I get to those real quick, it brings to mind, there's three particular athletes that I can think of right now, just off the top of my head, that it brings to mind. And number one is Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams was the running back for the Saints and then later on the Dolphins. and he had a very public problem with anxiety, and he would even have his helmet on sometimes during interviews and whatnot. And he struggled with it quite a bit. And there was times where he didn't even come off the bench because of it. He was very open about that. And his coach at the time, Jimmy Johnson, was very supportive of those things as well. And then the second athlete that it brings up more recently would be Brandon Marshall, the receiver. He played multiple teams, but I remember him probably best from the Broncos. And he used to play right here locally at UCF. He was a wide receiver. He's very outspoken and very open about mental health issues. And then, of course, Kevin Love. Kevin Love in the NBA is very outspoken about that. He's missed games because of it. He's talked about it, and he was kind of one of the first ones that I can remember right off the top of my head in the NBA that really pioneered that type of thing.
Really? I thought Michael Jordan did. I think Michael Jordan did a really good job of talking about it. He even walked away from the game and played a different game for a while.
I didn't personally view it that way, but yeah, I can see that.
After his dad got killed, he just wasn't the same player.
Sure.
He walked away from basketball for a while.
Yeah. I mean, if I recollect, his story was basically his dad always wanted him to play baseball, and that's something he always wanted to play. That was his first love, so he wanted to go try it, and he was grieving his father and whatnot. Kevin Love openly was talking about actual depression as well, and mental health illness and stuff. So it's just interesting that there are more out there, more spoken. But before we go too far, there's a couple of comments, and I definitely want to get to a few of them here for sure. Marissa started out by saying injured versus hurt is a good way of putting it. I hear people with disabilities say all the time that they're too tired and in pain to work out. Most times they're just moving muscles they're not used to moving, and nothing is injured. I mean, as a trainer, I see it all the time. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. The whole idea of pushing through it. And then Simon says, I pulled from a few trail ultra marathons due to lacking focus and knowing it would only be a matter of time before I trip or stumble and result in an injury. It was part of an awakening of mental impact on my daily life. I mean, that's true. I mean, because like you said, if you're not focused, man, you can make a stupid mistake and pay for it for the rest of your life. So Richard, so this is the one I wanted to get to.
But by the way, before you go to that, Roberto Duran stayed on his stool, man. No mas. I mean, he stayed on the stool. That's Roberto Duran.
That's a famous no mas fight right there, man.
You know what I mean? He just couldn't get off the stool. That was all psychological.
Yeah. Wasn't that Sugar Ray that he did that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sugar Ray came out and said he never heard that, by the way. Yeah, he said he never heard it. But anyways, so Richard, I want to get to his comment because I think that this is the prevailing thought process. And one of the reasons why we're having the show is to have this discussion. So he said, I'm not as torn in the subject. I have given my belief on this subject, but it really brings out my lack of empathy for the mentally weak. And then he followed that up with mental weakness equals lack of true perspective. So let me address that one. I'm going to address that one only because I don't know if I quite know exactly where you're taking it, but I'm going to respond to where I think it was going. And that is, I had that same kind of concept, right? As I was younger and I was angry at the world and I was dealing with all my chips on my shoulders, I definitely had this idea of mental toughness, mental weakness, to where if you couldn't just suck it up and get out there and do what you need to do, then there was something wrong with you and you were weak.
Right.
I absolutely had that mentality. However, as I've gotten older and as I'm not as physically capable as I used to be, and as I've gotten married, I've had children, and I looked at the softer side of life, I'm starting to realize that it's not quite as black and gray as I thought it was, right? Some of the things that I thought were strengths were actually kind of weaknesses, right? And I'm finding that out now, right? Like I myself, one of the things I've learned over the past year, as I've continued to grow and evolve, is one of my problems was I only saw the life, I went through life expressing everything through the funnel of two emotions, and that was either frustrated or angry. I didn't show sadness, I didn't show hurt, I didn't show any of these other emotions that I thought were weakness. It was either like frustration and anger, or I'm good, and I thought that that's how you're supposed to be, and there is a place for that, I believe. However, it was a weakness in the sense of it made it almost impossible to have a true connection to my children and my wife. Because if all they ever see from you is strength, if you will, if all they ever see from you, I'm okay, I'm a power through it, or I'm angry, or I'm frustrated, they don't get to know the human side of you, and they never have that connection. And they're always going to look at you as something else. And to me, that's a weakness. the idea that my wife and my children don't have a true connection to me, that's not a strength, in my opinion. And the way that solution or that end result comes about is the idea of the strength of I've got this, I'm good, don't worry about it. I'm not going to tell you I'm sad at the moment. I'm not going to tell you I'm lonely at the moment. I'm not going to tell you I'm hurt and you hurt my feelings, right? I remember when I first had to start talking about that, just the words saying you hurt my feelings made me feel gross. It made me feel like, oh, dude, you hurt my feeling. What am I, some little punk here? But it's a true strength, though, when you're aware and you can see, hey, you know what, my feelings are hurt. I'm not saying I don't cry and suck my thumb in the corner, right? But that's the images that conjures for us. And so this idea of mental weakness, I don't like that. If you're awake, if you're alive in today's world and you're functioning, you're mentally strong. Because there's so many reasons to just put it into it, or so many reasons to just sit in a corner and not do anything. Because life sucks, right? Life is what it is. It's always going to create a certain amount of pain in our life, and we have to learn how to adjust to that so we don't suffer. In other words, your life, none of us are Parker Lewis, right? Where we can't lose. There's always something happening in our life that's just not up to par. And it's so easy to just say, screw it, I'm not going to deal with it. But if you wake up every single day and you face life again and you're going through the motions and you're doing what you got to do, that's strength. And so for Simone Biles to say, because I can't question her mental toughness, bro. Like the things that she does in the Olympics, I can never do in my wildest dreams. And she's already a decorated athlete, so I think she's proven that she's mentally strong. And so to think that there's only one facet to somebody, there's not a whole other facet, another side of them that's equally as strong, I think it's a little disingenuous, and I think that's part of the problem we're having, right? But the other problem I think we have is we don't know how to balance that out. Because that thought process, I think, left unchecked, could take us to this new wokeness that we're experiencing. To where we go way too far the other board, and everything matters, and everything's so important. And I think there's a middle ground there. I don't think it should be this woke generation that we're having at the moment, where everything is offended and we all have to change our minds. But I also don't think the days of the old school, like I ain't got time to bleed days. I don't think there's a place for that anymore either. I think that if you're out on the battlefield, right? If I'm out there fighting and I'm a soldier and I got another soldier alongside of me and we're trying to go take this hill, yeah, man, I want you to be all about it. I want you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let's go do what we got to do. But that's a very extreme example. If I'm living my daily life, or if I'm dealing with my friends and my family, or if I'm at my work or whatever it might be, I want the well-roundedness. They made some comments, but I'll let you respond first.
Yeah, I think the problem with that, Trinity, is that how do you measure it? You know what I mean? So I think that's the danger, is because it's just like pain. You can't measure it, right?
Nope. Well, you can't measure somebody else's.
So I think that out here listening in the audience and people that will hear this broadcast or see it or whatever, they've all gone through stuff, man. And most of the time, you can't really take the time off you need. Most of the time you do power through it, or you do get through it. So I think the hard part here is it puts us in a situation where anyone that tells us then, I need a moment, or I need some time off, that we're the jerk off or the asshole if we tell them, no, I really need you right now. I'm sorry.
Right.
And I think of the stuff that's a little bit more serious. So like the soldiers, there's a lot of soldiers out there, a lot of veterans, that unfortunately they don't have the luxury of being able to do that. And when they did do that, and trust me, I've counseled some soldiers that felt like they did that, and they live with that guilt for the rest of their lives. Now, whether their act of non-bravery at that moment was the reason that other person died or not, that doesn't take away their guilt for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Because they know what they were experiencing at that time. So even though they continue to fight or whatever, in their head, they know that they had a diminished capacity, or they just weren't at their full. And that's hard for them. And I think that's something that even she's going to live through on this, unfortunately. Sure. Not to the same degree, obviously. But when you're a professional athlete and you stay on that stool or stay on that bench and you don't perform, and your team didn't win the Super Bowl or didn't win the World Series, or in this case, they didn't win the gold medal, that's going to haunt her regardless of what we all talk about. So right. She's going to have to live with this regardless, because we all do. Yep. We all have that moment where we know we weren't our best. We did not put it out there. So the real question is then, when do you sit on your bench and when do you not get up off the corner? Because I think we all have that moment. I just don't. I'm trying to recollect one as I'm speaking, which is why there's a pause. I'm trying to recollect a moment where I didn't get up off the stool or get off the bench, and I'm just talking about in life. I'm not talking about in sport. I'm just talking about in life where psychologically I wasn't well, so I just didn't go.
I've had those moments,
and I can't think of one. I just can't think of one, and I don't know if it's a gift or not, but I think I do have a gift of being a little psychotic, or able to just shut it completely off. Now, I'm not trying to measure up to her because I don't know her stressors. I don't know her deal. But I know that if I committed to something, like I have to go speak tomorrow, right? So if I leave this hotel room and I go to the venue, and that right there at that moment, I'm so psychologically not well that I don't feel like I can do it. I don't even want to think like that. I don't even want to put myself in a situation where I can just walk off.
Right.
They're depending on me. I have to do the job. I'm going to go do it. I'd like to believe I can always do that. But the only reason I could say that is because I've never been in the situation where I actually could not, and I was actually psychologically paralyzed, and I walked away from it. If I had had a moment like that, I think I would relate a lot more to this. But because I haven't had that moment, it's easy for me to sit back and go like, I would have just done it. Suck it up, do it. You're already there. Do it for the team. Get out of yourself. It's not a time to be selfish. Because her words did sound selfish. She didn't word herself right, but remember, she wasn't psychologically well, so of course she didn't word herself right. You know, she knew she was going to catch a lot of shit for it. And I guess according to you, she did. I didn't know that she did. I hadn't read the story.
It was mixed. I had so the only situation, and I hear the things going on. There's a ton of comments, and I want to get to them. But real quickly, so I don't know if I've had any moments where, like in the midst of something, I wasn't able to persevere. I don't know if I've had any of those. However, I have had some moments where I made decisions based upon mental health that a lot of people around me did not agree with. And the first one that comes to my mind is when I walked away from the Postal Service, right? I was there for like 11 years. I hated that job. Like it literally was doing something to me mentally every single day. I wasn't a happy person. It was changing me. And my daughter was on the way, or my daughter was here, my son was on the way. And I knew for me what that place was doing to me, and I wasn't skillful enough to overcome that pain. I wasn't even in my spiritual journey yet. I was not a spiritual person. And so I was dealing with a lot of stuff that was happening unskillfully. And it was causing me to come home and just be angry and bitter and upset. And I saw myself turning into a father that I didn't want to be. And I knew that the only way I could be that father was if I no longer did this. So I decided to quit the job and go pursue, entrepreneurship, if you will. But at the time, there's a lot of people in my life that saw that and said that I wasn't being a good dad because I wasn't just going to work and doing what I got to do and keeping the benefits and providing for them money and things of that nature. And I said, well, I understand what you're feeling, but as a kid who grew up in not the greatest of homes, I don't remember what kind of carpeting my parents had. I don't remember how much the toys cost and things of that nature. I remember how I felt. And I remember how I felt, not listened to and the violence and things of that nature. So I didn't want my children to have an asshole for a father. And I knew that job was going to make me come home, and I was not going to be in a position mentally where I could deal with the stresses of that and not be an asshole to my kids. So I walked away from a job. And that, to me, is what I thought was being the best father I could be, is putting myself in a situation where I was healthy on a daily basis to deal with them. Because, if I'm already struggling with stuff and I'm impatient and I'm aggravated or whatever, I'm not going to have the patience to deal with them in a loving way. I'm going to snap at them. I'm going to be angry. And that's not their fault. They don't deserve to be snapped at because they're asking a question. I mean, they're children. That's what they're supposed to do. And so it was on me to what I felt to be take care of my mental health, essentially. So that's how I relate to this, in a sense. There's so many comments. Did you walk off
the job?
Yeah, I quit.
No, did you walk off the job while you were working? Like, did you make it harder for your fellow employees? Did it make their job harder that day because you just walked off?
Not that day, but the next day. It was an immediate thing. Like, I literally came the next morning and left. So I didn't show up to work that night, no. And I didn't really give a shit about them. They're not paying my bills. They're not my family. That's up to them.
Then it is kind of similar, because a day is not notice, right? You didn't give notice.
No, I quit that morning.
For
I
the
was
other
supposed to be.
employees.
I was supposed to be in work that night, and I quit that morning.
So it's kind of similar. I see. I've never done that. I've never. I don't think I've ever walked off the situation.
But I had no loyalty to those individuals either.
But I'm not saying that I'm better because of it. I'm
Yeah,
just saying
I know.
that's why I can't have their
So there's so many
relation.
comments. Let me start rattling off
go
some of
for
these, and I'm gonna stop as they get interesting because I haven't read them. There's so many here. So Marissa said, I think it's the switching of coping mechanisms. They don't serve us the same in every situation or phase of life. I used to love proving people wrong. If you're a dick, I still love to do that. But now it's about proving to myself I can do it and proving to someone who doesn't believe they can do it that they can too. I agree with that. I like that. Next one is Richard. If everyone from every walk of life could address their lives with the understanding or vision of how blessed and talented they are in their own right, instead of listening to what the culture or society's expectations are, mental resilience would be more predominant. Maybe. Once again, you're looking at it from your perspective as far as what's blessed and what's talent. For every individual that sees a blessing, there's another one that sees a curse, or there's another one that sees a problem. It's like my kids are a blessing, right? Like, because I have children, I have a way to continue my legacy, and they give me so much joy and everything else. But for somebody else, they're also a curse, right? Because it changed everything. I can't do the things I used to do. Financially, they're a burden at times. That's it's the reality of it, right? They are a financial burden. They're one that we happily take on, but let's not pretend like they're free. Right? They cost. Let's be real here. Would you have a lot more money in your life if you didn't have to pay for children? Yes, we all would. But we happily take that on. You can act like it sounds whatever, man, but it's reality.
Well, no, it's interesting because I wouldn't even took it there.
But there's people that would.
I respect the opinion. I kind of like what Richard said on that. I do kind of agree with that, but I do see your point as well.
Yeah.
Again, my brain just doesn't go to that part. So
right.
It's just we're built differently psychologically.
Absolutely,
we're just built differently. So like that door, it probably has a padlock on it, so I can't even get in there.
Well, what makes me think of it is when you and I are always joking that there's always that one person. Everybody's like, well, somebody's got it worse. Somebody's got it worse. Well, there's always that one guy that doesn't have it worse, right? And so that's the thing is you're in the midst of your troubles. There's always going to be somebody out there, oh, it could be worse. Well, you're not thinking that. Like, their perspective is it could be yours. Your perspective, this sucks, dude.
Yeah.
Next one, Simon. He says, staying strong, equaling pretending only strengths are present, sweeping emotions under the rug. Basically, I'm assuming what he's saying is the pretending that you're strong. It's not actually strength, I guess. Richard then followed up and says,
I don't know. So when I hear that, I think about the coaches. Like, I think mostly football. Right?
Me too.
For some reason, because in football, the coaches are allowed to kind of just like really yell at you. Right?
Oh, yes.
So I think of a football coach walking up to a player, going, "Are you all right, man? Hey, why don't you just take the next quarter off? Why don't you just go to the locker room? We got this." I don't see a football coach doing that.
Right.
I don't see not one football coach doing it. Now I could see them saying, look, if you're not doing well, go to the locker room, and then just keep going and just ignore it. And then later talk to them. But in the heat of battle, in the heat of moment, don't ask me to empathize with you right now because that's not what we're here to do.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
A thing to do, and then later I'll go, hey, man.
Of course.
What's the matter out there? You could have got hurt out there. Next time, you got to recognize that before you step on the field, because if you don't recognize it before you step on the field, if you're not 100% before you step on the field psychologically, don't come on the field. You're going to get yourself hurt. You're going to get a fellow teammate hurt.
Yep.
Don't do it. I could see a coach saying that.
Yeah. Next one, Richard says, what was the worst thing that was going to happen in Miss Biles' case? She would win gold. So what? No, she could have broke her neck. I mean,
she could have broke her neck.
That's the thing, is that she's flying up in the air. I mean, she could, if she didn't land it correctly, she could have hurt herself. Yeah. She could have taken somebody else out if they were close enough.
Trinity, I was watching it. She missed every single landing in every discipline. She missed every single landing.
Yeah.
Every single one. That's not her. She's doing incredibly strong jumps. When you, in that last one, I'm telling you, that last one, she opened up her arms and had this look of being terrified in the air as she's twisting still and flipping still. That has to be so scary. Here's what I remember. Here, you rode motorcycles just like I did. All right, so I remember jumping one time, and it was my worst accident ever on a motorcycle. I remember jumping, and while I was in the air, I was terrified, knowing I really fucked up this time. I went too fast, and I was in the air, terrified,
Right.
terrified, because I knew I was gonna get hurt. Now, mind you, if I would have been in the game, I would have still known, no, man, just you're gonna land it. I would have been confident, and I would have
Right.
landed it anyway. But because I was terrified and I knew I was gonna wreck Trinity, there was no saving it. It's like the wobble. It's like a wobble
Right.
in motorcycle where you're in a
Sure.
wobble and I'm wrecking right now. There's no getting out of it. That's a terrifying feeling.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah.
And then let's see Simon's response to the what could happen. He said what I said, basically spinal injury or death. And then Richard said, or it teaches you to be stronger. I don't know how death would teach her anything.
You gotta respect it though. Hey,
Yeah,
man,
I hear you. No, I would have said the same thing 10 years ago. So I feel you, man. And then Marissa.
Or a different psyche. He
Yeah.
just has a different psyche. And you know what, Richard? For whatever your purpose in our life is, you probably need that. And so,
Sure.
if you're that ant, I'm glad you're that ant.
Absolutely.
The other ant, like, look, everybody's seen an ant pile, right? If you go to an ant pile and just see a regular old ant running around an ant pile, and you kind of mess with it, it runs right back in a hole. It runs away from you. But when he goes back in, guess who he tells to come out? Because now you mess with the ant pile. Like, mess with the ant pile. The only ants that come out of that ant pile are the ones that says, I don't
the
care
fighters.
how big you are.
Yep.
I am biting your ass.
Yep.
They don't care about food. They don't care about sugar. They don't care about nothing. They just want to bite.
They're staying in their lane.
If you're that ant with a big old pincher, well, then that's good. We need those too.
Yeah, dude, I was that guy almost all of my life. It wasn't until the last probably
You're
10,
old
12
now,
years.
so now
Yeah,
you're full
yeah.
of...
Hey, he's in the same age. And then Marissa said, "We can all be mentally strong until we crash." She couldn't have felt like she could have felt like that for a long time, and it just culminated in that moment.
I think so too.
I just don't always trust celebs and their reasons for doing things and when they do it. Them making it news makes a mockery of everyone going through the same thing. In fact, it was something else than what she said. And then Simon said, "Many decades of staying strong is not the only answer." And then Richard followed that was it is simply a fear of failure. Simon said, "Not even close." And then Richard said, "So when you're afraid of being injured, it's okay to quit." Got it.
Unfortunately, to some people, yeah. I mean, look, quitting is filled with negative connotation, right? But I'm telling you, there are boxers that have been hurt. Like Tyson got rocked.
Yeah,
He
man.
went in there and he was afraid. Look, worse, when he got the most afraid, what did he do? He bit off Evander's ear. That's when he was he actually was like, holy shit, I'm losing right now. Now, it would have been very different if he would have just stayed on the stool and says, no, I'm quitting. I'm just not here. We would have thought differently of Mike Tyson. I think we kind of like the fact that he still went in the game and bit off an ear. And so maybe I can understand these comments because
Absolutely.
Again, we look at rock stars and we look at athletes like superhumans that no matter what you're going through, get out there and dance, monkey, dance. That's what I want for you to be.
Yeah.
But again, they're more than that. And
Yeah.
the reality here is they're regular people, just like you and me. They're regular people.
I think for me,
Very talented.
as I've gotten older, right, what like the idea of not quitting and fear and pushing through and stuff. When I was younger and I had less to lose, and I absolutely thought that way. But as I progress through life, like we all have a risk reward thing we do in our heads, right?
Yeah.
What's the risk and what's the reward? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? For some people it is, and for some people it's not.
Right.
For some people the glory and everything else that comes with it, the money, all this other stuff is worth every bit it takes to get there, right? And in my life, and when I was younger, absolutely, man, I was that guy out there doing wheelies at over 100 miles an hour and standing on my bike and going through traffic over 200 and weaving it out and driving like a complete idiot. But a lot of that changed. Dude, I got tattoos on me from motorcycle stuff. I thought I was going to be it for the rest of my life. Instead, it was just a portion of my life. Because once I started getting kids, when I looked at my daughter, and my son, my daughter came first, obviously, that was my reward. So the idea that I could do something as silly as riding a motorcycle like an idiot and potentially either die and leave them without a father or mess myself up in a way to where I'm an invalid or I just can't appreciate them anymore, it wasn't worth it for me anymore. There's still people out there who have kids who do it, and by all means, man, more power to you. I just reached a point in my life where I didn't view it as quitting. I just pivoted. I didn't quit. I just changed what I wanted to do. I just don't want to do that anymore. I'd rather go do this. So you could say I quit. Okay, it doesn't bother me because I did. I quit something that was no longer giving me the benefit that I was getting before. And so I pivoted and I changed what I did. And I sold the bike and I bought a truck and I'm totally fine. And I'm here for my kids every day.
I was there. I remember that day.
Yeah, in fact, you were there when I sold it.
Yeah. But then again, that wasn't your livelihood, and you weren't being paid by,
No.
Yamaha wasn't, expecting you to go out there and perform. You know what I mean? You didn't have there wasn't, so
Sure.
it would be a little bit different if you were getting paid for all that stuff that you were doing, and you went to a meet and you just left your bike in the garage and you walked away from the garage.
Sure.
And so I think that's where people are struggling. Like, I don't think anyone would have struggled with this at all. I don't think there would have been one negative comment if before or after the Olympics she would have said this and done this. I think because she made the decision after those performances, after not performing the way she normally would. She expected a certain caliber of ability. It wasn't there because part of her wasn't there. And because she did it right in the middle, in front of all of us. And that's unfortunately what their life is like, right? This is the stress of celebrity, right? Is that everything is right there in front of us. And this happened live on TV. This happened while all of us were watching.
Sure.
And this is our biggest star in the Olympics. That was by far our biggest star in the Olympics. Now, Ledecky was there, but nowhere near Simone Biles. Simone Biles was the top star in the Olympics, and that's why it meant so much to us, man.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I don't really care, right? Like, because
you don't really watch the Olympics though either.
Well, yeah, I watch them all the time. I just know that
watching them this time though.
That doesn't mean I don't watch the Olympics. That just means I haven't watched them this week.
But I mean, like some people, it's like a lot bigger.
Even I guess my point is, if I'm not going to be there in her personal life to help her pick up the pieces and live her life, I don't really have a say-so in what she does or doesn't do. Like, I just don't.
That's the right way to think.
That's how I think. I just, it's not my place. I don't really care. Like, I don't like the idea that, like I said, it's not worth it for her. Like, if she found out in that moment, if in that moment she's like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. She has the right to say, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not going to make her do it. And I'm not in a place to judge her for that either, because I'm not her shoes. I never even did what she did at the beginning, right? Like, so I guess my thing is, if you're not up there swinging from the bars and flipping up and everything else, you can't say what you would do because you didn't do any of it. You didn't go to the gymnastics. You didn't go and put all the hard work and everything. So you can't say what you would or wouldn't do because you were not that person.
What is that show, that Western World, or what is that?
Westworld, with robots, whatever?
That's the problem here, Trinity, is that I think we all view the world like Westworld. Like, you are here to entertain me, motherfucker. So when you don't,
sure,
I'm allowed to be disappointed too, Trinity. I'm allowed to say, damn it, man.
Sure.
You were supposed to win that gold medal for me. I was supposed to be cheering.
Sure. I feel that too. Medal. I just try to balance it, but I feel it too.
Look, I'm in Westworld every day, and I feel like people, why are you in the fast lane? You know damn well you're supposed to be in the slow lane. This fast lane is for me. Move the fuck over. So that is the deal, Trinity. The real deal is that we all live in a portion of Westworld thinking.
Sure.
And so we also have to respect that when people don't perform to our expectations, it frustrates the shit out of us. Now, the beautiful thing is that we have people like Dharma Guy in our life, and Dharma Time in our life, where we're able to refocus a little bit and go, you know what, though? In the real meaning of life and the real end of things, this doesn't mean a damn thing, man. Get the lesson you need to learn out of it. There's no difference in that person than you. You had your not so proud moments, or your moments where someone looked at what you did and says, I would have done differently. And you didn't like it. I don't care how significant it was. I don't care how comparative it was. We all have a moment where someone else looked at us, and it probably happens like 20 times a day. At least if you're married, it happens more like 50 times a day. Yes. Where someone looks at something you did and goes, I would have done that differently.
Why'd you do it that way?
Yeah, why did you do it that way?
Yeah.
So this is just one of those moments Only, again, I'm allowed to have my Westworld moment and go, this is not what I paid for.
Of course.
Rewind, let's do this again.
Of
Next
course.
time, get the fuck up on that balance beam and let's do it right. Come on.
Perform! Yeah, no, I mean, and I have those same emotions, right? I mean, I care about football, but I guess where I'm at now in my life is when I think that, I immediately followed up with a, but, to whereas when I was younger, that but never entered the equation. It was all that. And I guess what really made me change the most, I remember it.
Right.
It was a moment that I was kind of already on that path because I found spirituality and I was kind of, I was traipsing down the path. But what really solidified it for me was my daughter. One time my daughter was doing something and I looked at her and I raised my voice a little bit and I kind of like gave that mentality and she started to cry. And it broke my heart. Here's my baby girl sitting here crying over some stupid shit that I just said to her for no reason. That 30 years from now, I can't even remember what it was now. That's how unimportant it was.
Ask her, she'll remember it.
Yeah, and that's why she was
my
real little.
Remember it all. I'll do it too, Trinity.
But my point is,
Daddy said that.
Yeah,
they love me for that.
My point is in that moment, I had to ask myself, is it worth it? Is it really that important of a lesson for her to learn at the moment, right now? No, it's not, dude. Like, it's not worth the scarring. There's another day.
We don't know. We don't know until the end.
Yeah, as you said,
there's
a prison full of people who got spankings when they were a kid.
Yeah, we're in Valhalla.
I'm going to Valhalla, man. I'm on the Viking trend here.
Hey, man, I'll get my season pass.
Aren't you Angolan or something? Or what was it?
Angola.
I don't know where.
I think Latinos go to Ibiza.
That's where the party's at.
Yeah. So listen, we do have to. I got 5% on this computer, and I didn't bring my charger. I apologize.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up.
But I do want to say this. Here's who I'm very proud of. This is what it probably all happened for. Sonny Lee got the gold.
Yes.
Sonny Lee.
Yep.
This chick stepped up, bro. Now, here you are. Your teammate just said, guys, you're going to have to do it. I'm out. Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean you're out? What do you mean you're out? What do you mean you're not doing this? Come on, you could do this. Are you sure? You mean I got to go do this? Are you sure? Didn't even have the routine in her head. Did 2 different events. Didn't even have it ready to go. But because they're professional, because she is that kind of a pro, and she is a fucking true gold medal champion today. Not yesterday, not 4 years ago, not 5 years ago. Today, Sonny Lee stepped up. Now, she had all kinds of shit going on in her head. Her dad, is going through something serious. He's in a wheelchair now for the rest of his life. I mean, she had all kinds of emotions. Her teammate just left. Now the whole world's looking at her like, okay, Sonny Lee, now it's up to you.
Here's your moment.
Number 2, so now you're supposed to get the gold. You're supposed to get the gold, Sonny Lee. You're supposed all that pressure.
Yep.
That pressure didn't break her.
Nope.
She did it. So we have 2 examples. One, where somebody was able to say, you know what? I've had my moment. I'm not this person anymore. I thought I was when I got here. I'm not. My days of this is over. I'm sorry. And walked away. And the other one that says, I haven't had my day. Holy shit. My moment is right fucking now.
Here it is.
I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to do it. And she did it. We had 2 completely different examples, but within the same team. Sonny Lee, congratulations. You are a fucking hero. And you went out there and got the gold. You're a badass. That's what I got out of the whole deal. Yeah, I'm thinking more about her than the Simone Biles. Simone Biles, I get it, man. You got to go. You got to go, girl. Your days are done. I get it. Yeah. But Sonny Lee, congratulations on your gold medal.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And you were lagging like crazy right now because of the 5%. So we're going to go ahead and call this.
But did you hear me at least?
Yeah, we heard you. It's just you're lagging, that's all. Okay. So we're going to call that the show, man. So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. I know we're cutting it kind of short, but he's lagging out, and I think we got our point across regardless. If you, I think there's still, another week or almost a week left of Olympics, so go America. Anyways, that's all we got today. Yeah, exactly. Make sure you follow us on social media.
We're still behind China. We can't be behind China.
Make sure you follow us on social media. He's at the Dope Doctor. I'm at the Dharma Guy. We are at WPSN99. Check us out on youtube.com/Dharma Time. Hit the subscribe button and make sure you share, things of that nature. And that's all we got. So now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.